4 recent suicides of high-profile Russian gas industry executives, with links to Vladimir Putin, are all suspicious, sources have claimed. 2 wealthy businessmen were found dead along with their family members this week in Madrid and Moscow, but now suspicions are being raised about 2 Kremlin-linked figures who died earlier this year. On Tuesday, the body of Sergey Protosenya, 55, was found hanged outside a Spanish villa, with his wife Natalia, 33, and their teenage daughter Maria found hacked to death with an axe inside. Investigators initially assumed that Protosenya, who had a fortune of £330 million, had killed himself in the Lloret det Mar villa in the Costa Brava. But local reports said evidence does not conclusively point towards this explanation, as no suicide note was found in the property and it appeared steps had been taken to ensure there were no fingerprints on the murder weapons. The businessman had served as deputy chairman of natural gas company Novatek, a company closely linked to the Kremlin. Just days earlier, the body of Vladislav Avayev, 51, was found in his elite Moscow penthouse alongside his wife Yelena, 47, and daughter, Maria, 13, in another apparent murder-suicide. Avayev was previously a vice president at Gazprom Bank, a bank that was created to work for Russian gas giant Gazprom, and had also been a Kremlin official. In both cases, there are suspicions that the deaths may have been staged as suicides, but detectives are still investigating. The 2 macabre incidents are united by the former places of work of the victims. Both are connected with Putin's inner circle, according to Telegram channel Mazam Obyashnit, and they both involved the killing of their immediate family. But there are also 2 other deaths of prominent gas industry executives this year which have aroused suspicion. On February 25, the day after the Ukraine war started, the body of Alexander Tyulikov, 61, a senior Gazprom financial and security official at deputy general director level, was discovered by his lover. His neck was in a noose in his £500,000 home. Gazprom Bank was chosen by Putin as authorized to receive Western payments for gas in rubles. Alayev, who mysteriously owned a KGB FSB gun found after the shooting, evidently had a joint venture business on leaving Gazprom Bank with a daughter of a high-level executive of Rostek, another Putin favorite. Gazprom Bank is one of the main channels for payments for Russian oil and gas, and in March, Putin demanded that foreign countries must open accounts with the bank in order to pay for Russian gas, in retaliation against Western sanctions. Gazprom Bank would then convert euros or dollars into rubles. Putin had initially said foreign countries must pay for Russian energy in rubles in a bid to save the country's failing economy, a stance that he later softened on. Novatek, Russia's second-largest natural gas producer, has also been subject to Western sanctions since Putin launched his invasion of Ukraine. So, under strange and similar circumstances, the families of managers of 2 key private companies managing the money of Putin's entourage died, stated Mazam Obyashnit. The pro-Kremlin media has been briefed that Alayev had tortured his wife for several hours before killing her, beating and shooting her in the legs and arms believing she was pregnant by another man. He suspected her of infidelity with his driver who had fled to Moldova, and tried to make her confess by shooting her in her limbs before killing her, it is claimed. The last straw was the news of her pregnancy, said a report by MASH. But other sources have denied she was pregnant, and a rage of jealousy does not explain why he killed their daughter. While there were differences between the couple, these were being resolved in court, it is said. A total of 13 weapons were found in the luxury flat, which had been locked from the inside, according to Anastasia. A neighbor called Christina said, "I heard 3 shots and shouting. A woman was screaming. Then 2 more shots were fired. No one else was screaming. I looked out the window, I thought it was fireworks. It turned out they weren't, my mother told me it was definitely gunshots." A female neighbor said, "Perhaps this was because of the sanctions, everyone is depressed, some are willing to go to extreme measures." She said sanctions and the economic downturn may have hit his business. They possibly put him in debt and he decided to shoot himself, she said. Another female neighbor said, "He was a smart man, almost the head of Gazprom Bank. I had seen him, he did not look like a maniac. He was a nerd. He had no reason to do that. He was rich, smart. There's no way a man like that could kill. Maybe Avayev and his family were killed. So what does that mean?" Police in Spain say the prime hypothesis is that Protosenya killed his wife and daughter with an axe before taking his own life at a luxury villa in Catalan resort town of Lloret de Mar. But the case remains open, with some elements that did not suggest a domestic violence case. Details of the other two cases are sketchy, with Gazprom's security service playing a leading role in investigating suicides in an upmarket residential complex for company high flyers. The Mossos Catalan police force told the Daily Telegraph that investigators are working with the hypothesis that Protosenya killed his wife and daughter with an axe and a knife inside the holiday home as they were asleep in their beds. He then hanged himself from railings outside the villa, the newspaper reported. However, according to local publication El Puntavui, the evidence does not conclusively point to deaths being a domestic violence incident. The Spanish news website reported that investigators found no suicide note at the property. And while initial reports suggested Protosenya used an axe and knife to kill the two women, no blood was found on his body. It added that investigators discovered blood-stained socks on the floor of the mother's room, suggesting that the killer had put them on as gloves, possibly to avoid leaving fingerprints at the scene, or on the weapons. Spanish police are now waiting for the results of an autopsy, and were checking the villa's CCTV cameras to determine if anyone from outside the family entered the property around the time of the murders. According to reports, Protosenya's family lived in France but were holidaying in Spain when the killings took place. The businessman and his wife Natalia, 53, had 2 children together, the 18-year-old victim and a teenage son who was in France at the time of the alleged killing spree. The teen son called the Catalan police on Tuesday when he was unable to contact any of his family members. Officers checked on the villa and found Protosenya dead in the courtyard after apparently committing suicide. The police then found the dead bodies of his wife and teen daughter in the house. Protosenya and his family flaunted their luxurious lifestyle on social media. They enjoyed golf and traveling all over the world, often sharing images of their apparently idyllic life with netizens.